For over a decade, the quiet shores of Gilgo Beach concealed a chilling mystery, a series of brutal murders that left investigators baffled and families searching for answers. As new evidence emerges, the case continues to unravel, shedding light on one of Long Island's darkest and most haunting crimes. Welcome to the Vault of Horrors. The case came to public attention in May 2010 when Shannon Gilbert, a 24-year-old sex worker, disappeared after meeting a client in the Oak Beach area. Gilbert, who advertised her services on Craigslist, had been escorted to the meeting by her driver. In the early hours of May 1, 2010, Shannon called 911, frantically stating that someone was trying to kill her. Her panicked call lasted 23 minutes, during which she reportedly fled the client's home and ran through the neighborhood, knocking on doors and pleading for help. Despite this, Shannon vanished into the darkness. Months passed with no trace of Shannon, but her family refused to give up. Police efforts to locate her led to an unexpected and gruesome discovery. On December 11, 2010, a Suffolk County police officer and his trained cadaver dog were searching along Ocean Parkway, near Gilgo Beach, when they stumbled upon a burlap sack containing human remains. Over the next 2 days, 3 more sets of remains were discovered in similar burlap sacks. The victims were later identified as Melissa Bartholomew, 24, last seen in July 2009, Megan Waterman, 22, last seen in June 2010, Amber Lynn Castillo, 27, last seen in September 2010, Maureen Brainerd Barnes, 25, last seen in 2007. All 4 women had advertised their services online and were believed to have been killed by the same individual. Investigators dubbed this person the Long Island serial killer, or LISK. The discovery at Gilgo Beach was only the beginning. Over the next year, police uncovered additional remains scattered along the same stretch of highway, extending the known victim count to at least 10 individuals. These remains included partial bodies that were later linked to dismembered remains found in other locations years earlier. The victims varied in age and background, but shared commonalities. Many were sex workers who advertised online. Several were found in burlap sacks. The bodies showed signs of having been staged or deliberately hidden. Among the additional victims were Jessica Taylor, identified through a tattoo on her torso; Jane Doe No. 7, a woman whose remains were found both at Gilgo Beach and in Minorville, New York; Baby Doe, the remains of an infant girl found near the remains of her mother, later identified as Jane Doe No. 3; John Doe, a young Asian male believed to have been a sex worker. The variety of victims led some experts to question whether all the killings were the work of one individual or possibly multiple killers, using the same area as a dumping ground. In December 2011, over a year after her disappearance, Shannon Gilbert's remains were discovered in a marshy area near Oak Beach, just a few miles from where the other victims were found. However, her death did not fit the same pattern as the others. Unlike the burlap-wrapped remains of the Long Island serial killer's victims, Shannon's body was found scattered and showed no clear signs of homicide. An autopsy concluded that she may have accidentally drowned while fleeing through the marsh. Shannon's family vehemently disputed this finding, arguing that she was murdered and that her death was linked to the other victims. Her mother, Marie Gilbert, became a vocal advocate for the case, pushing for further investigation. Tragically, Marie was murdered in 2016 by another of her daughters, but her efforts kept Shannon's case in the public eye. The case of the Long Island serial killer has inspired numerous theories about the perpetrator, with suspects ranging from a lone predator to multiple individuals. Many believe the killer is someone familiar with the area, possibly a resident of Long Island. The remote locations where the bodies were found suggest knowledge of secluded spots and how to avoid detection. Speculation has also fallen on law enforcement itself, particularly after allegations of corruption within the Suffolk County Police Department. Former Suffolk County Police Chief James Burke faced accusations of impeding FBI involvement in the case and was later convicted of unrelated charges, fueling suspicions of a cover-up. The variety of victim profiles and methods of disposal have led some to believe that more than one killer is responsible. This theory posits that the Gilgo Beach area may have become a dumping ground for multiple predators over time. Many of the victims were sex workers who advertised on Craigslist or other online platforms, leading investigators to consider whether the killer specifically targeted women through these services. The case remained stagnant for years, with little progress and mounting public frustration. In 2020, Suffolk County Police released a photo of a black leather belt embossed with the initials WHRHM, believed to have been handled by the killer. This marked the first new piece of evidence shared with the public in years. In 2022, the FBI joined local authorities in a renewed effort to solve the case. Advances in DNA technology and the digitization of records have given investigators new tools to examine old evidence. In July 2023, authorities arrested Rex Heuermann, a 59-year-old architect from Long Island, on charges related to several of the murders. Heuermann was linked to the killings through DNA evidence and cell phone records, placing him near the victims at critical times. His arrest brought a measure of relief to the victims' families, but the case is far from closed. The Long Island serial killer case stands as a stark reminder of the vulnerabilities faced by marginalized individuals, particularly sex workers. It also highlights systemic issues within law enforcement, including resource limitations and the stigmatization of certain victims. As of December 2024, significant developments have emerged in the Gilgo Beach serial killings investigation. Rex Heuermann, a 60-year-old architect from Long Island, has been charged with the murder of Valerie Mack, bringing the total number of his alleged victims to 7. Valerie Mack, a 24-year-old sex worker from Philadelphia, disappeared in 2000. Her partial remains were discovered in the Long Island Pine Barrens that same year, with additional remains found near Gilgo Beach in 2011. Advancements in DNA technology led to her identification in 2020. Prosecutors have presented compelling evidence connecting Heuermann to Mack's murder. A hair matching Heuermann's daughter was found on Mack's remains, while hairs matching his estranged wife were discovered on other victims. Investigators uncovered detailed documents outlining methods for selecting and disposing of victims, reflecting Heuermann's meticulous approach. Searches of Heuermann's residence revealed violent pornographic images that corresponded with the injuries sustained by Mack, suggesting a disturbing alignment between his interests and the crimes. Heuermann has pleaded not guilty to the charges. During court appearances, prosecutors alleged that he committed the murders in his basement, utilizing tools such as pushpins and tarps, as detailed in his planning documents. His defense team plans to request the separation of charges for trial. The next court date is scheduled for January 15. Authorities continue to investigate potential links between Heuermann and other unsolved murders in the Gilgo Beach area. The discovery of multiple sets of human remains between 2010 and 2011, including those of petite female sex workers, a young child, and a man, suggests the possibility of additional victims. The case remains active, with law enforcement agencies striving to bring closure to the families affected by these heinous crimes. This is The Vault of Horrors. Thanks for watching.